Chico Tillmon is a program manager for Ceasefire Illinois, and he has a master's degree in inner city studies.
Let's give him a round of applause as he comes up.
Thanks a lot. How everybody doing? Come on, you can do better than that. How everybody doing? That's what I'm talking about. As he said, my name is Chico Tillmon. I'm the senior program manager for. How many people heard of Ceasefire? As everyone should. Ceasefire or Cure Violence is a program that takes a public health approach at stopping violence in inner city neighborhoods. How many people know someone, friends with someone, or related to someone that has been shot or killed? Okay, thank you. In Chicago, homicide is the leading cause of death. So not heart attacks. I believe somebody talked about old age, not old age, not car accidents. It's homicides. So in the inner city, what's going on is people are actually killing each other. The people that are actually doing these homicides are between the ages of, can you guess? Between the ages of 14 and 24. So most of the people that's doing the shooting are young people. Young people are actually doing the shooting. And that's why it's important that I talk to you today to get you to understand not only who's doing the shooting, but what's going on in the world around you. The difference between Ceasefire and other organizations are great, but Ceasefire is one of the only organizations that has direct contact with those people that we just talked about. We take a public health approach and we deal primarily with the shooters. We build relationships with them. We try to find out what's going on in their life. Why are they doing these type of things? Are there any problems going on at home? What's going on that's causing you to commit these violent acts? Now, with a public health approach, we look at violence as a disease. And what I mean by that, exposure to violence or meaning seeing somebody get killed or being around that type of environment leads to more violence. That's how people become violent. It's a learned behavior. People not born that way. People usually adapt to their community, and a lot of reasons why they adapt to their community is really to just survive. If you live in a community where a lot of those things are not going on, then usually you behave as such. That's why, as one of the previous speakers said, the same individuals who commit violent acts in these communities, when they go downtown or when they go to Oak Park or to Forest Park or to Oak Brook, what happened? They don't do nothing. We're not having shootings in those areas. But the same people travel throughout the city, but the violence is concentrated in particular areas. That's why we say it's a contagion, because it's a cluster or a group of individuals where that's the social norm. We establish stuff in some of these communities where, you know what? If a person does this, what? The remedy is what? Yeah, to do it back or what? To kill them. It's that serious. Where if you respond to a certain situation or conflict, the ultimate response is homicide or shooting someone. And that's what Ceasefire comes in and tries to change. We look at it as an epidemic, but if you look at how many people are familiar with any disease, whether it's a cold, the measles, or whatever? Good. The way you get measles is how? Contact with somebody with measles. And that's the same approach we take with violence. The way you get violence is growing up whether it's in a household that's violent, you have a brother that's violent, you live in a community that's violent. And historically in Chicago, the same neighborhoods are violent over the last 50 years. Don't that make you wonder, why is it always the same neighborhoods where the homicides happen? That shows you it's a cultural norm. And when you go into different communities, what? They don't tolerate that type of behavior. So when individuals go into those communities, they behave according to the culture in those communities. Am I right? Some of the people that's at your schools that might be the toughest individuals, when they go downtown, they act like they got what? They got some sense. And it's amazing because you wonder how a person can be so bipolar. Crazy as I don't know what in the neighborhood, but when they go downtown or when they go to Oak Park, all of a sudden, they got some sense. But that's what ceasefire tries to change. Let me show you something in the next slide. This is the one that, hold on. I'm trying to, it won't move. Anyway, forget that. We could just roll. This is what we try and do. The first thing we do is we detect and interrupt transmission of a disease or violence. What we do, we go into a community. This is how ceasefire works. We go into name a community. Austin, perfect. I'm from the Austin area. We go in the Austin area. Right then, when we go in the Austin area, we hire people that are born and bred in the Austin area, people that know the neighborhood, people that know everybody, people that know the good guys, and people know the people that you need to stay away from. When we hire those type of people and identify who the individuals have a proclivity or most likely to do a homicide or shooting, we right then identify them and we build relationships with them. We love on them. We treat them good. We treat them with respect. We tried to build a big brother relationship with them so we could find out why are they responding to conflict violence. And when we build a relationship, as the relationship grows, now we're able to what? Interrupt violence. That's what it's all about, building a relationship with these people that feel rejected and ostracized by society, so they don't know how to respond in a normal way, so they respond violently. So by us building a relationship with them, when a conflict starts, we're able to what? Call them, talk to them, and de-escalate the conflict. It sounds simple, don't it? It is, though. We love on them. That's it. We love on individuals. Of course, we train. Of course, it's scary. I'm going to be honest. A lot of times we go into situations where there's individuals with guns, all type of chaos, but we talk to them, and because of the previous relationships we've built with these individuals, we're able to de-escalate conflict. Some of the largest gang wars or problems or shootings we get involved in, able to de-escalate because we build relationships with key individuals on both sides. We unbiased. We just trying to save lives. That's really what Cure Violence is about. And the second thing we do is we try to take these same individuals, these high-risk individuals, and we put them into our program and we try and change their behavior. So when we change their behavior, just think of your school, right? At a school, the percentage of individuals that might be tough or the people you want to stay away from is what? Relatively what? Small, right? Right? But they at the school, right? At every school, it's individuals who put on or portray themselves to be bad or tough guys. And most of the kids that are on some positive stay away from them. So what we do is build the relationships with that small minority and try and change their behavior so they can become part of the majority. And that's what the same thing that the public health workers use to interrupt violence. Because what happens is when people start responding violently, what? It spreads. It spreads. That becomes the natural way to what? To resolve conflict. And that's what we be trying to stop. Let me give you an example. In the Austin area, in the Inglewood area, a few years ago, it was an individual who was shot coming under the viaduct. Are y'all familiar with it? individual say he didn't have nothing to do because he lived on one particular side of Inglewood and he was traveling to another particular side. Now, the natural response when somebody gets shot is everybody's in the uproar. Everybody, you know what happens. Everybody from every community wants what? Blood. That's why it's important to love on these individuals, because if you got relationships with the right people, you can get in contact with the people who can influence the people that's actually doing the shooting. And that's why I really came here today to talk to you, because the people that's doing the killing in our communities is who? Our family members, our friends, our neighbors, people we know. Aliens not coming from space shooting people. Come on, let's be real. We know or have relationships or are around people that's doing these type of things. That's why it's critical that we be something positive in their life. It's critical that we show them through our life that it's other ways to solve conflict. Another thing that's really been kind of catching on, how many people got an IG account? Now, I know more than that people don't nobody got Instagram now, right? How many people got a Facebook account? One of the worst things that's come out, I'm going to be honest, and I'm going to take this time to educate you. Stop using Facebook Live. Real talk. The reason why is about 6 months ago, 3 people were shot, a young girl was murdered, and two others were shot because they was on Facebook Live, they was arguing with somebody, and the people were able to identify exactly where they were. One was 15, one was 16, and one was 17 years old. The 16-year-old girl had a scholarship to 18 Division I colleges to play basketball, and she was murdered for talking trash on Facebook Live and saying, I'm in your neighborhood. Something just that simple. We in y'all neighborhood, F y'all, we on Facebook, blah, blah, blah. By the time they walked back to the house they were at, they were shot when they was turning the corner. A lot of times we do things on social media, and to us it might seem to be innocent, but you don't know exactly who's watching and who's chiming in. So we got to be more responsible when using social media, and we can't be making crazy posts, derogatory posts about groups, derogatory posts about individuals because you don't know who their friends are. And that's something I'm going to educate you on today. That's critical. I'm really sad when I see one of those crazy posts and then all of a sudden somebody getting shot behind. Because a lot of times it might not be the individual, it could be one of their friends or relatives see it. And then you don't even know what they look like. So we want to be careful about what we post on social media and how we respond to posts. And if somebody saying something derogatory towards you, you know what's the best thing to do? Unfriend them. Real talk. Nothing's more important than your life. And that's how serious it could be at times. I want to show you something else, and then I want to the button stuck. We could go to the end. I just want to talk to you for a minute, right? The thing we're trying to do right now, you could go to the last slide if we can. The thing I really want to try and do, the only way we're going to really be able to stop. How many people want the violence to stop in our communities? Seriously. The only way violence is going to stop in the community is if it's a joint effort. That means all of us have to get involved. All of us. It's going to take a joint effort. It's not, and I'm going to be honest, complaining about it is not going to change it. Talking about who in these a politician is not going to change the violence in our communities. I'm sorry. The police is what? They're not going to change the violence in our community because police are what? Responsive. Police come when what? After somebody, when the police get there, somebody been shot already. So the only way the violence is going to change in our community is if we change it. We change it. It got to start with us. It got to start with us, the people that's living pro-social lifestyle, the people that's trying to do the right thing. Because I bet you got influence over one person in your community that might be doing something they shouldn't be doing. And if you just talk to that, if all of us just talk to one person, you know what it'll do? It'll change the community. So I challenge you to design a method that enables your peers to not only prevent acts of violence, but also engage them in a peaceful process to prevent and eradicate them. So let's stop what? Let's stop complaining about violence and let's change our communities by stopping violence. Thank you. That's it.
Awesome. How did you all like the presentation? What questions do you have on violence? We're going to start, I guess, right over here on this side, and then we'll transfer to this side. Yes.
Okay. Hi, I'm Emerald Ernest from Harlan High School, and I am a senior. And my question about violence is, I understand our point is to try to stop it, but like for people who've been so close to someone who's died or been shot at or anything, how do we, I don't know how to say it really, but how do we like implement more than just us as a group, as children? How do we get our fellow community, our doctors into it because it's a mental state, our community lawyers and things like that, because we need people with a bigger voice to speak out for what we're saying. How do we get it? And how you said Facebook Live is bad, how do we find another way to broadcast and make it known that this is a real situation, not just in Chicago, but everyone else.
Good question.
Everywhere else.
So how do we get more people involved, and what is another platform that we can use to get the message out?
To be honest, I think when you try and look at it from an aspect of involving everyone, it becomes problematic because then you start gathering people instead of working toward the solution. So that's why with the challenge, I'm just challenging you to talk to one person. Because if you talk to one person and they agree to talk to one person, the snowball effect takes place and now everybody is talking about the conversation. Make no mistake about it, the topic of today around the world is violence. Whether we talking about over here in Chicago or we talking about worldwide violence, which is terrorism. So that's the topic of today. Now we just have to not look at the problem from a macro perspective. If I say, you know what, I know one of my friends often instigate stuff or get stuff going, I'm going to talk to them so that they don't become a victim of gun violence. So if we just do that, you might not see it now, but pretty soon the violence is going to decrease just by you being motivated to talk to one individual.
On the right?
Okay, my name is Shanti Collins. I'm from Michelle Clark, and I'm a freshman. I want to know, how do you change the mindset of African American, like people and stuff, when every time they kill each other, they feel like it's okay, but when another race kill us, they feel like Black Lives Matter or it's a racism thing when they give other people the rights to kill us when we kill it ourselves?
Wow.
Okay.
How do we change the mindset? Good question.
That's an excellent question. You know what? The way you change the mindset of people in the community is by what you're doing now, speaking up and saying that this not right. Let me ask you something simple, right? If we look at it, when we want to change a fashion or how we do something, one person, whether it's Lil Wayne or Jay-Z or Michael Jordan or LeBron James, one person influences the masses. So let's just look at it like this. It's people you influence. It's people that look up to you. So if you and other people in your community start saying, no, we don't resolve conflict like that, other people are going to adopt that ideal or that ideology, and it'll begin to spread. It's the same way in Oak Park. If you talk to the people, the youth in Oak Park, when they get into an argument, why ain't none of them going to get a gun? It's one block over from Austin, from the neighborhood you live in. On this side of the street, if they get into an argument, they having some type of discussion, but on this side of the street, if we get into an argument, we going to get a gun. So it has to start small and become great. It just has to be a group of us to say, we ain't doing that no more. And then it'll spread, and then other people will begin to get involved. But what we can't keep doing is waiting on another person to start it when we could start it ourselves.
Awesome. We have time for two more questions. Right over here.
Hello, my name is Fabian Ayala from Infinity Math Science and Technology High School. I'm a senior. I was wondering what motivated you to start Ceasefire?
I didn't start Ceasefire. An individual, Dr. Gary Sluckin, who was an epidemiologist, started it. And he started it because he looked at violence as a disease and seen that it had the same characteristics as Ebola or AIDS, that it was in clusters. So what he did is came up with the methodology in order to start the organization Ceasefire. And he believed by hiring people within the neighborhoods who already knew the neighborhood and had established relationships, that it could change the behavior of individuals in the neighborhood.
Right.
So what motivated you to get into Ceasefire then?
Because I grew up in the Austin area and I saw a lot of my friends killed by gun violence. So I wanted to do something to combat or quell the violence that was going on in the city.
Good question. Last one right over there.
Okay. Again, my name is Janita Browning from Richard T. Crane, and I'm a senior. My question is, so-called black on black crime, how are the kids in our communities getting those guns? We're not the ones making them. How are those kids getting the drugs? It's being imported, right? So, how exactly would you change that, and how much of it is intentional for those kids to have those guns to kill each other?
Good question.
Okay. Okay. If you ask them from a large perspective, how do people getting the guns? On the black market. Because none of the people that are committing these violent crimes are going into if it's from 16 to 24, they're not going into the gun shop and saying, hey, let me see that one, or they buying them on the black market. Number two, with the drugs, I'm aware of all of the strategic planning and implementation and all the things that went in to put drugs in impoverished communities. However, at some point, we got to acknowledge that we got a choice. Just because something is accessible don't mean I have to do it. So I don't want to say, okay, and become too one-sided and say, oh, our communities are like this because the drugs are available and the guns are available, but still we have a choice whether or not to pursue them and whether or not to purchase them. So at some point, we got to look at this form of genocide that's going on within our neighborhoods. And the sad part is we killing each other. It's not like they putting the drugs over here and bringing the guns over here and people from other nationalities shooting us. We choosing to shoot each other. I hope I answered your question.
Let's give our presenter another big round of applause. Let's take the next 5 minutes to deliver.